Well, happy Sabbath again. I better remove this. That was quickly. Okay, shall we start with a word of prayer again? Dear Heavenly Father, we come to your presence in the name of Jesus to give you honor and glory, to praise you because you are worthy. You are the Creator, and you gave us the Sabbath day to communicate with you. Lord, thank you for the message of health, for the health message, for all the proofs that show us that this is not a human thing. It's come from heaven. Help us to be obedient to your word. And Lord, I pray that every person here will go back home full of enthusiasm and motivation and fire from heaven to do their best for your honor and glory. We praise you, and I pray that you will use me as your instrument. In Jesus' precious name I pray, amen. Okay, something is making a funny noise. Maybe I should move it a little bit here. Okay. Well, as Lori said, we were invited to share a little bit about our testimony. This is probably gonna need other time because it's kind of long, but we want to share a little bit of what happened to Samuel and I during our training for country living and about health. So if we can go in the next, yes, someone here recognize this gentleman? Well, if you went to the Veggie Expo, we met Brother Michael Greger. This person is one of the this doctor is always talking about plant-based. It's very interesting that for being a doctor, a medical doctor, he's always recommending plant-based foods and natural health. In fact, he says that the source, the fountain of eternal youth, is eating nuts and fruits and vegetables. So this is very interesting. In the health weekend, I learned that this doctor had a grandma who got cancer, and his grandma went to one of those institutions when she learned how to eat better, exercise, use the 8 doctors, and she actually recovered herself. So that's why he started learning more about plant-based and all these treatments. So that's pretty interesting. He has very good insights. Maybe you know his books. He has other one that calls How Not to Age, and he has very good recommendations that you can always check. If we go in the next presentation, thank you. How many people here have seen this person on media, online? Does anyone recognize this face? Okay, one person knows him. Well, his name is Brian Johnson, and this guy is becoming very famous. He is creating a revolution. He believes that aging can be reversed in humans. He's a millionaire. He invests every year on health. He spent $2 million every year on treatments, on medications, on supplements that he drinks, that he takes over 100 different supplements every day. His goal in life is to be healthy and live up to 200 years. If we go in the next slide, he actually does some things that are kind of scary. Like he get blood infusions from his son, that is 20 years old. He exercises so many hours. I mean, it's like he does some things that are probably a little bit extreme that no every human can do. That's kind of interesting. For me, it's a little bit no sense. Can we turn the next person? Thank you. It's a little bit funny for me because people try to live many years without God. And when you read in the Bible, Job 14 says that the man's days are determined. God knows every day and every month that we're gonna be living, and He has set limits that we cannot go after that we cannot exceed. And looks like the world is so much into health those days, like people going to Botox and coloring your hair. You don't want to have white hair, right? Like people sound too much into health and looking for solutions. But the reality is that only God knows how much we're gonna be in this earth. Can we go to the next slide? Nevertheless, not everything is bad about this guy. I mean, he has good insights as well. Like for instance, he believes on proper nutrition. He also believes on exercise. He saying that he is also he is always talking about good sleep, mental health, and habits. I didn't know that, but this is something that I learned on the health share. Do you ever heard that by having your habits is the best thing that you can do to yourself? I don't know if you heard about this story, but Sister Ellen G. White used to have only 2 meals per day. And she said that by having only 2 meals per day, she was able to lose 25 pounds without major exercise. So one of the things that we did on the weekend it was eating only 2 times per day. And it really helps a lot. I mean, it's like you give your body a reset. You give your body a rest. And it was so interesting. He also talks about eliminating self-destructive behavior. Does anyone here can think on a self-destructive behavior? Where is it?
Well, eating after 7 o'clock is self-destructive behavior.
Correct. Okay. Anyone else?
Can you repeat what you said?
What is a self-destructive behavior? Oh, and he said that eating after 7 p.m. Okay. Does anyone can think in any other self-destructive behavior? Looks like smoking, correct. Looks like no one here destruct themselves. That's good. Someone say that?
Not trusting in the Lord.
Not trusting God, What about, yes, someone say overeating, but what about overworking?
Yeah.
What about stress? What about going to bed after midnight? Is that a self-destructive behavior? Yes. It is. Yeah. Absolutely. What about overthinking or holding hard feelings? Unforgiveness. Yeah. It's not that a self-destructive behavior. You build it up for yourself, right? We're doing it to ourselves. So this guy is not totally crazy. I mean, they have some stuff that we can definitely agree with it. But I'm not here to talk to you about what the world is doing, because there's so many stuff that people are doing to keep themselves alive. Even on this, I even think that is the same like the story on Genesis 11. Maybe you read the story before about a group of people who wanted to build a city, and they wanted to have a tower called Babel. And they wanted to preserve their lives as much as they could. But God said, you know what? You're not going to go farther than that. So without God, we cannot even live one day, even 1 second. God is the one who gives us all the power to accomplish all the things we do. So if we go to the next slide, this is, maybe you heard about the 8 doctors. I'm sure everyone heard about those. So God has given us all these 8 doctors that are so easy for us to accomplish. And it's just amazing that simple things can do so many. I don't have $2 million to spend every year to keep healthy myself, to reverse aging. But by doing what God has told us, we can do a lot of things. So if we go in the next slide, you know that the Seventh-day Adventists are the #1 blue zone in the world. Yes, this is so amazing. And this is where the Lord wants us to be. This is where God wants us to be, like a people in the world who everyone else look after and say, what do you do? I want to learn that.
Do people know what blue zone is?
Does anyone know what is a blue zone? Well, they made it, thank you, they made a research. This was probably in 2012, 2010, maybe. And they checked, they wanted to figure it out. How is that these people, some certain group of people in the world can make it up to 100 and 110, 120 years. So they were looking for in different places on the earth, and they found out that some of the people who live longer and happiest and healthy are the Seventh-day Adventists who live in Loma Linda. So they checked, what do you guys do? So you can check this. You can check this in Discovery Channel. They made all those research, and they realized these people doesn't need meat. They exercise. They have group support. They have faith. They don't use tobacco, coffee, and they also belong. I mean, they have a faith. They keep the Sabbath. So all those things, they made it feel more curious about what is a lifestyle. Absolutely, there's other groups that are making very good, they are improving very good as well, and they're making their way onto 100. But the Adventists are the group that are increasing more and more. So this is something very, very well appreciated. I mean, it's amazing that God is accomplishing his plan for us. In the next slide, I want to ask you guys, how many like to see these in the store? How many like when you go to grocery? When you go to your groceries, how do you feel going into in the produce section? You like to go for buying fruits and vegetables? Well, I tell you, I love it. It's my favorite place to go. Sometimes it smells so good. It's full of colors. It just feels so good to be there. But you ever wonder how many nutrition you actually get from your food? Do you know how much nutrition does your food has? Can we go to the next slide? Because there's a very interesting statement here. And a study shows that the food that we ate is very, very low in nutrition. In fact, when we harvest our food, they lose up to 30 to 55%, even more when it's harvested. So every time you go to the store, you think your food is fresh. You think it was harvested in the same day. Sometimes no, sometimes isn't. Who in this place, anyone in this place has been in Mexico, Central America, Fiji, Costa Rica? Okay, many people. How many of you has been eating a mango that is just coming from the tree? How it tastes? Have you eaten a mango in Canada? When you buy a mango, how it tastes? Okay, why? Why is that? Well, the food that you're eating is full of life. What you're tasting is minerals. You're eating minerals, and it's the flavor that is so rich, it's so good. So your food, once it's harvested, what do you think is happening? It starts dying and dying and dying. Yeah, the food starts dying. If you see in the next slide, it's just like the Bible say, like if it's the same thing than a Christian. If a Christian is disconnected from God, what happened? It starts dying and dying and dying. Well, it's the same. The same thing happened to your vegetables and your fruits. The same thing that happens to a Christian. Jesus said, abide with me and you will have life. If you are disconnected from Jesus, what will happen? We're going to be dying. It's the same with the fruits. As soon as they harvest, they start dying. So the same thing happens to us. And by knowing this, that's where the story of Samuel and I begins. And if we go through the next slide, that's how our story begins on the country living. I wonder if anyone here has any idea of where Chetwynd is. Does anyone heard about Chetwynd? Wow, there's people. I'm amazed. I thought that it was so remote that no one will know what is it, but it's up north of British Columbia. Beautiful place on earth. About 2,300 or 3,000 people live in this small rural area. It's beautiful in the summer. Unfortunately, it can be very cold in the winter, up to 50 below, 40 below, 6 months of pure winter. It's not very excited on the winter, but in summer it's wonderful. It's like a heaven on earth. So Samuel and I ended up there going for a country living training, and we had such an amazing experiences there. In the next slide, those are some of the pictures of our garden. It's very beautiful. By God's grace, we learn about how to grow your own food. And you can see some cabbage, broccolis, onions, potatoes. It was very amazing, especially, cauliflowers. Coming from someone like myself that I grew up in Mexico, even when I grew up in Mexico, and later on I lived half of my life in the US. I mean, for being a Mexican, I'm going to tell you this, and people who are Spanish or Latinos, they will agree with myself. If you're a Mexican, the worst thing that can ever happen to you is to end up in a farm, like a farmer. Like, we don't born to be farmer. No one wants to be a farmer. But God has telling us this is the best for you, and there's so many benefits of living in the country that we don't understand. And God has given us all those instructions. In the next slide, you will see a beautiful row of onions. Those are onions, green beans. We used to grow several different things, even do the farmer market, because, I mean, we grow food, we plant at least 30 times more than what we need. So you ended up with all those products that we don't even can use it. Samuel is saying the food that we grow is so rich in nutrients that even if you couldn't, you start crying because it's just full of life, full of nutrients, right? In the next slide, you will see some of the tomatoes that we grow in the greenhouse. Everything in the north grows away bigger because we have long days with full of sun, so they get humongous. Yes, it was such an amazing experience. Those tomatoes are the most delicious that I can ever try. They were so good. Samuel is saying even the spinach, the side of a spinach is huge. It was probably my hand full. It was such an amazing experience, yes. And just going into the greenhouse and trying those tomatoes, you can see that they're full of life, full of nutrients. They were so special. Once you grow your food, it's nothing can be compared. In the next slide, as you see here, the Okinawans are also this group of people who they can live up to more than 100 years easily. And some of the things that they do is that they grow their own food as well. So people who grow their own food, they normally have better health. These people, they exercise every day. You have a garden. They say by exercise, growing their own vegetables in their gardens, the vegetables and the fruits that they grow, they give them natural antioxidants that help them to prevent cancer. In their garden, they also spread a few minutes under the sunlight. And as you know, vitamin D is so essential for you. It's probably one of the most powerful sources. The sunlight is just so amazing, and we don't take enough vitamin D by the sun. So do you realize how many benefits this person is getting from just having a garden? She's exercising, she's having pure air, she's having sunlight, she's having nutrition. And I mean, even it's good for your soul. It's so healing having a garden. She's doing like the exercise. In the next slide, you will see a gentleman as well working hard for his food. So, but this is one thing that I also learned on the health weekend, that the best investment that you can do is exercise. How many people here likes to do investments for your money? Getting 50%, getting 70%, getting 100% exercise. Because for 1 hour out of 20 hours in your day, if you exercise 1 hour in 1 hour per day, you will live 1 or 2 years longer than that. Just by exercising, by doing intense exercise, not just going to the gym and say, oh yes, I go to the gym and using your text. Exercise, intense exercise, you will live longer. You are adding years of life into your life. And maybe you heard this from Ellen G. White, but she said that any walking, just even walking outdoors, outside, is better than any medical prescription. Do you heard that? So I'm gonna tell you, I was struggling with sleep because I have this very sensitive sleep. Now that I'm working out, like seriously working out, I sleep like a baby. I also like workout is just so good. It helps your mind. If I ever feel like depressed, like I don't want to do anything, go exercise. Do you know that Dr. Lilly put his people who are struggling with depression, they put in a routine of exercise for 7 hours to exercise. It's the only way, it's the best way to get rid of the depression, just by exercise. And on top of that, family is growing food and is having sunlight, and I mean, it's a blessing, right? In the next slide, more pictures of the garden. Yes, it's garlic. That it was just the most delicious thing. I miss the garlic so much. More potatoes. More of the garden as well. Can we go to the next slide as well? This is a blueberry farm that we stayed there as well for several months. The flavor, the quality, it was just amazing. You feel like in heaven. When Ellen G. White say that men and women who possess a piece of land are queens and kings, she really mean it. It's just so beautiful. It's just like you feel free. Even when COVID and all the struggle was here in the cities, we were so happy there. We didn't realize anything. We were just blessed doing our own lives. In the next slide, there's more of the blueberries. And the next one as well, here we can go. Those are some of the blueberries. There's plenty of them. What do you do with all this harvest? There's immense, there's so many. You feel like a rich, yes, I will say you feel just blessed, right? In the next slide, we also have like the strawberries, harvesting strawberries under the sunlight. The next one as well. I want to just mention a little bit about corn, because the corn that you eat in the stores is very bad for you. If it's GMO, you're probably going to realize the effects. But this particular corn, because I was very fussy about corn, I never like it, right? Especially being Mexican, that we eat corn, but I don't like to eat corn. So eating your own corn, it was actually pretty good. I mean, no side effects. I used to have a lot of allergies before moving in the farm. Living in a farm, I forgot even my supplements because I was addict to all those supplements. Moving in the country, you don't need a lot of that. Yes, because this is another thing that I learned in the health weekend, that the industry of supplements is just a business. There's many things that doesn't work out for you. They're trying to ban calcium because calcium pretends to help you building mass, building and prevent osteoporosis, and it doesn't really do anything for you. So yeah, if you really want to strain your bones, you better want to use the Celtic salt. It's probably more benefits for you, has more benefits. In the next slide, this is our salads, our food for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Made with all the garden ingredients: beets, onions, spinach, kale, cucumbers. We have like a fresh salads every day. We love them so much. At least for months, we use them in a daily basis. In the next slide, you will see our children's. We don't have children, but we have chickens, and we love them like our children. They were so funny to see those creatures. You're even you see things differently when you live in this environment. We don't eat eggs in a day or every day. We try to avoid them as much as we can. But since we had those chickens, well, we were able to eat some eggs once in a while, and I mean, you know that they're free of hormones, so that's pretty good. Yes, because you know that too many hormones, feminine hormones, can make a man acting like a woman, and the opposite as well. So it's better to stay away from dairy and everything that contains hormones. In the next slide, you will see that in Chetwynd, as I mentioned, all the way in the north, it's beautiful in the summer, but you have to know that after 90 days, even you're ready or not, it's time to harvest, because you can have snow anytime after probably September. So you better harvest then. And there we go. In the next slide, you see some of the things that they grow. You see this zucchini, they grow massive because all the sun that they get, it's just incredible. And the potatoes, like a pound for even one potato, it was just a blessing. In the next slide, there's another pumpkin. This is the first time for me. I mean, and I want to tell you and encourage you, if someone like myself could do such a thing, anyone in the world can do that. Like, don't feel like this is just impossible. Anyone can do this. In the next slide, you will see probably the last harvest that we did, but there's plenty of it. So what do you do with all this? What do you do with all those? With all this food? Because there's only two people, Samuel and myself. But what do you do with all that? Well, in the next slide, you maybe heard, or someone in your family many years ago heard about canning. Maybe no, because one time I was talking to a person and he said, like, what? That's from... I mean, he made very bad fun of me. He said, like, no way, what are you doing with that? But you know, the canning is actually a very good practice. You can preserve your food for at least 2 years, right? For at least 2 years, Lori, and save you a lot of money, because what are you gonna do with all your products? You don't wanna throw in the garbage. You can always do your salsas, or doing your soups, or saving for next year, right? For the winter. Yes, I forgot to say that, but for over 6 months, how would you like to don't go to the store for 6 months? Don't ever hear happiness keeping going to the store for 6 months. Well, we did. Yeah, once you have this harvest, once you have this garden, you don't need to go to the store every day. You forgot that you need, because everything you need is in your garden. So Samuel and I forgot that we need to go shopping because we have everything in the garden. It was really a blessing. Thanks for reminding me that, Samuel. There's something, you think there is something that you can do here where you are? Because maybe you live in an apartment, or like Samuel and I, that we are here now in the city, and we don't have a huge land to plant a garden. But there's something that we can do here to grow food, to obtain food that it has nutrients on. Well, in the next slide, I just want to extend an invitation for you. If you want to learn how to grow your food, at least on microgreen, there's going to be a seminar online. And if you're interested on how to grow food, how to start where you are, just you can connect with me or with Melina. She's the one who's putting this together. But it will be very good and benefit for us to learn. And maybe in the future, God will open the door for you and for anyone who wants to find a place in the country. Because nothing is impossible for God, right? He can, if it's your desire, God will open the door for you, and He will make it possible if you really desire. So connect with me or with Melina, and we're gonna give you more information about this seminar on microgreen and how to grow your own food, at least having something that you can have access. And before I finish, I want to leave you this. We can go in the next slide, and I'm going to leave you with this. Can we go in the next slide? Thank you. And I'm going to leave you this in mind, that yes, we are one of the most famous the blue zones in the world. Yes, we are Adventists. We have all this light of the health message, but God want to give us a life that is more abundant, not just for living in this world, because if we make it up to 120 years old, but we die without God, it's like nothing. But if we die, Jesus said, I bring you life, but life abundantly. A better life, not only for living in this earth with sorrow, with pain, with struggles, but with an eternal life in Jesus, in heaven, where everything is going to be beautiful, where everything is worthy of living. A better life, imagine that. So Jesus said, I came to give you a more abundant life, to exceed our dreams. So even if we die here, we have the hope of an eternity. That's the most precious hope for us. So I hope that the Lord will bless each one and really make our part to be the light of the world. So others can come and ask you, what do you do? What do you eat? I want to be healthy too. I want to have this smile that you have. How do you have hair in your? How do you keep yourself healthy and active? So the Lord wants us to be His witness. So let's try our best. And for the last slide, I just want to say thank you, everyone, and God bless to all.